of the house?
This is a marriage. It's not a like boyfriend girlfriend. Are you saying a marriage that's like you're talk to your wife?
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Bird 91. We're talking to you guys about Rachel and Jose, talking about how Rachel came back from her summer vacations to a winter Jose. Yes, Rachel is back with Jose after quitting the relationship for a month. And we want to discuss something very important because we're not talking about necessarily the other thing. There's other things I want to discuss, but I want to talk on this particular part about how with Rachel she has maneuvered part of the relationship to now get him to go on trips and stuff like this, blah, blah, blah. But there's a bigger picture at play here. If she's come back, especially after leaving, does she really have all the power in the relationship now? Because just because Jose is playing nice now doesn't mean he will play nice later on, as we saw with the whole situation of her moving into the house, which is actually something that we saw earlier on in the season when he had said, "Oh, you got all these pencils," and and spoke about her moving in. So we're going to discuss a little bit more about the show and that particular part of the relationship. Like it, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification uploads. For those of you returnees, you already know what it is, baby. You already know what it is. You got the minerals, baby. Let's get into the video. All right, cool. I want to say this. First and foremost, Rachel played down some of the issues within their relationship. I mean, one of those reasons that she played down was really about his behavior towards her when he had got, escalated the situation where in the morning she came to speak to him, right? She decided to defend him rather than actually really understand what was happening. She actually ended up placating and pacifying the situation, which is what happens when someone is in an abusive situation, when they're trying to make sense of what happened as to why they're staying. Very similar to what Zach did to Michaela, that a lot of women couldn't really understand, and that's not every woman. A lot of women could, but they seem to pacify. And this is what Rachel did for Jose. She pacified the situation by dumbing it down. Right? Let's just have a little look at this. What I'm talking about, right? Let's go to this particular scene here, right? Watch this.
That always sees both sides, and I try to be fair. I do think it was no. I do.
Now, Kevin senses the nonsense that's coming, and he says, Rachel trying to save her, because what she's trying to do is say, oh, but I see both sides, I can understand where he's coming from. Yeah, no, baby. That's the reason you're giving yourself to be able to pacify the abuse you just suffered. And I can see that because I can identify with that behavior, right? When it was done to me, I also had to I reasoned as to why it came from there, which is fine. You can reason, but do you need to stay in that relationship? Because now what's happening is if there's a consistent pattern of behavior, you need to get out. But if there's a behavior that is uber dangerous in the first go, there is no need to try and find a pattern. It's done. Right? When someone slaps you, ladies and gentlemen, listen to me very carefully. If a man or woman slaps you in the face, punches you in the face, right? And I'm talking about a situation, not when like, I can't even say that anyway, but you know what I mean? Like there are obviously there are very obviously deep exceptions to any rule. But in the majority of cases, if you're having an argument and she slaps you in the face, man them, run. She has no right to put her hands on you. And ladies, and if a man puts his hands on you, run. That guy has no rights to put his hand on you. That's an extreme situation I'm talking about. And what I'm dealing with and what you're going to do is, it hasn't got there yet. For many people that are in that situation, right now it's verbal tirades. Right now it's verbal tearings down. Right now it's passive aggressive control. Right now it's little put downs here and there. Right now it's change that dress. Right now it is, you know what, lose a few pounds, sir. Right now it is, I don't like when you talk to other women, right? And it's all these little things that start to begin, and they're small. And then before you know it, they become an absolute dragon. I will say this: Satan started as a serpent, ended as a dragon. When you let things grow, they grow. Right? And what you don't want to do, okay, is try to pacify the reasons. No, you can understand the reasons, but I don't have to reason to be there. I don't have a reason to be there. Not anymore. not when you're doing what you're doing. And Rachel is beginning to pacify. Listen.
I think it was intentional, but you never really expected me to truly not have a place to sleep. You just assume.
He didn't expect her to not have a place to sleep. Where do you think she was going? You thought she was going to somebody's house, because that's what made the insecurity kick in. You thought she was going to somebody's house, which she actually did, by the way. So she actually went to an ex's house, which is another a whole conversation as well, because we're not going to give her a pass for that. She knew exactly why she went to an ex's house, right? Which I'm going to talk about as well, because I'm starting to see also something else that can be spoken about. It's not, and I want to make it very clear. This is something I'm starting to see, especially on my channel. And if you're not on the channel, don't worry about it. This is for our people on our channel. Those who are familiars, those are regulars. We talk about a lot of stuff like this. What I see is whenever we deal with, for instance, Zach, we talk about Zach and then we put a but in there. I saw it yesterday. Someone else on another live. The woman was saying about Miller. But, we talk about Miller. But then Gil, but then Gil, but then Zach, but then Zach. And instead of actually what we're doing is, what we're actually doing is negating the behavior. Whenever you put a but in there, what you're saying is, this is a contributing factor to that behavior. No, guys. Start letting people take accountability, but stop saying but. There is no but here, right? When I talk about Zach, I don't put but in there because of Michaela. When I put Michaela, I don't put a but in there. It's straight. This is your behavior. There is no but. This is your behavior, and this is your behavior. Do you understand, right? Now, there are overlaps where some people's behavior affect others. In this situation, right? There is no but. In this situation, there is no but. In this situation, all it is this is Jose's behavior and this is Rachel's behavior. For instance, I really do think that there's something deeper of Rachel, the way the fact that she chose her ex. When this original situation actually happened earlier on, when she was talking to the girls earlier on in the season, she said, "I don't love him anymore." And I was like, wait, what? I was like, wait, hold on a minute. Now, don't get twisted. Yes, he was abusive, but to switch off your feelings like that and say, I don't love him anymore, screams something else. And the fact you've got Summer Rachel involved is too, which is not just flights, it's what happened in the madness happened there too. Okay. There's something emotionally deeper there with Rachel that we're not really seeing just yet. Okay. And that's not causing Jose's behavior. That's not triggering him. That's an observation I'm seeing. Right. But this is about Jose. Okay, and their relationship, right? Now, she says later on that the emotional connection has deteriorated. Now, this makes sense because you're mentioning a time of scale for your emotional connection reducing. But when you just say, I don't love you anymore, when you've been in a relationship and something goes wrong, that shows a sign of running, which is what Jose was talking about. That when things get hard, you run. Now, in that instance, when he mentioned it, it was wrong because he abused her. And it was a big abuse. But there is a behavior here that is true that I think when things do get a bit hard, there may be for her to run. Now, run, and someone might say, well, she's come back here. Yes, she has, because unfortunately, I think the bigger issue with Rachel in this relationship as to why she's back here. That's what we're discussing this whole relationship. The reason why she's back here is because, the need and desire to want to be loved has outweighed the desire to love oneself. Boy, it happens. Let me get some water. Stay hydrated. The need to be loved has become greater than the need to love oneself. And so therefore, you find yourself in a situation where it's like, oh, I don't think I'll get anything better. I don't think anyone will come along. And you kind of go back to that as a dog returns to its vomit. A bit like how Christians return back to sin. I'm one of those people who have done that several times, and I'm always trying to be better, right? But when I return back to my sin, I'm like a dog returning back to his vomit. And that's what's happening here with Rachel. She's returning back to vomit, not knowing it's vomit, and unfortunately for Rachel here, I think there's a deeper emotional issue beyond Jose. And I said this from the very first episode when I said, has she fully healed from that last relationship? Has she fully healed and grown strong in herself? Because when she was speaking about, I've lost weight now and more confident. No, baby, being more confident doesn't come because you've lost weight. Yes, you can have more confidence in some sense, but doesn't mean you got better boundaries. Doesn't mean you love yourself more. It just means that you feel more validated when people give you looks. Let's talk about it. That's all it means. But in this scenario here, in this relationship, what we're seeing with Rachel and Jose is really about a failure to actually that there are deeper things that are going on. His inability to admit he's wrong, his inability to be able to um, surrender control, his inability to be able to hear another point apart from his own. You know, um, and so that for me screams in itself a bigger issue. Not to mention the fact that when they had to try to move in, that was an issue as well, right? But let's have a look at this clip where she talks about her emotional connection kind of going away. Let's have a look.
In the neutral apartment and, you know, with the experts and everything, but we kind of, like he said, we got comfortable and our emotional connection kind of deteriorated.
Now, how do you get comfortable when your emotional deterioration happens? How do we get to listen? It's only been a few months. Honeymoon phase has got a little while to go, which means there are actual forces at play that were deteriorating the connection even faster. What are those deteriorations? They are things that are happening, events in a relationship that push that feeling out of the window, that lovey-dovey feeling out the window much quicker than it usually would. And that in here, in this case, it is one of the reasons is because the moving in situation, right? Okay. And this is very important as well because of what Jose does after. And this is why I'm saying Jose's not going to change for now. For now, Jose is not going to change. And you don't need to try and make him change.
It's a lot of arguments, and I felt instead of being helpful and making me feel more at home, you know, he did mention a lot. You have too much stuff.
Now, obviously, with Jose and his control, you know, her moving her stuff in, it will be a problem because he may feel like she's messy, she's not tidy. He may feel like, oh, she's gonna take over this and that, and I've put that here for a reason. And this is where the difficulty comes in when you have someone moving into your house and you love your space. When you love your space and someone else moves into it, it can be very difficult because what it really is that someone's getting on top of you and they are moving things around and shifting things and doing things, and what that makes you feel like is you're losing your space. But when you get married, you don't have space anymore. It's our space, which is why I'm sick and tired of this Gil and Merla situation, and everyone's suddenly going, well, Mila can do whatever she wants. No, you can't. You're in a relationship. It is about both parties. You cannot do what you want and do it at the detriment of your partner. You just can't. That's not how relationships work. Now, in this case, what we're seeing is, unfortunately, Jose cannot release the reins. And she saw that and got tired. Now, this was evidence because in the earlier episode, when he started complaining about her pencils, he was wondering where they're going to go. All right. That was a foreshadowing. We saw that with the plants choosing. He's been controlling from the beginning, trying to brush her teeth for her. You know, there's been so much of this kind of behavior which has helped deteriorate the emotional connection. And I'm guessing also, as watched later on, how Mila also influenced her decision making as well, right? And that also helps when you've got a friend in there who speaks to you about certain things. They can influence your decision making as well. Okay. Now, this question here is where I was concerned for both of them, right? Let's have a listen. Let's listen to this question.
Involved. It's just straight. You're married and you have to work on it and you have 8 weeks to make a decision.
So you two are working on this to better your marriage, or are you working on this that you still could get divorced?
Now, question is, are you guys working on it to better the marriage, which means you're in it fully, or you're working on it because it could be divorce? If you don't work on it, divorce, right? Very simple question. Okay. Now, this is very important because what her response or his response is, it's going to tell us a lot. Let's listen.
I think we're getting closer of making it to better our marriage, just because I was done.
Now, pause. If we're working to better the marriage, but you were done, then what we're not at trying to better the marriage. We're at saving the marriage. We're not at bettering the marriage. We're at saving the marriage. And I think both Rachel and sometimes Jose aren't always all the way honest about how they really feel. Rachel writes it in notes, Jose holds it in and then blows up. I think they're not being fully honest, right? Because you're not bettering your marriage at this point. You are saving it. You are in a different house, darling. You're in your mom's ass. You ain't trying to better it. You're trying to save yourself from divorce. You're almost there because you quit the relationship. Did you not? You didn't say, "Oh, I moved out and that was it." You said, "I quit the relationship." You were done. The ship has sailed. You were going. You have been finished. You are out of there. You are not going to be around, isn't he? Yeah, he wasn't trying to be around at that moment, right? So, yeah, all this chat about, trying to better the relationship. No, darling, you are trying to run and make sure that you don't divorce. That's what you're trying to do. Stay away from divorcing. That's the honest truth. But Rachel is really on edge, and that is why Jose was so nervous this episode and why his foot kept wagging like a dog. It is because Rachel has the power in the situation, because she gets to choose whether they go forward or not, right? Rachel has the power to choose whether they go forward or not. Let me just get this clip up. Sorry. Oh my gosh. I have to play it underneath, but that's cool, right? She has the power to choose it or not. And the reason why is because she's the one that quit, and she's probably the one that came back, even though he chased her. So he's got to play nice, right? Otherwise, he can lose the situation. Let's play a little bit of the clip, all right?
On so that you can make your relationship work.
Oh, for sure. There's already a couple of other trips that we've already booked as well too, and so it's just one of these.
Oh, look at you! You travel.
I'm on the wrong clip, guys. I apologize. I'm on the wrong clip. I chose the wrong one. That was not the clip I was trying to show you guys. It's about 2 minutes back, further back. Let me go back there for you guys. Let's go back. Sorry about that, guys. Let's go back there. So that wasn't the clip I was meant to show you guys. There it is. Let's play.
I was just feeling so exhausted from the constant bickering and arguing. But now.
So what was her reason for leaving? Her reason for leaving was because she was tired of the bickering. We didn't see them bicker much. Interestingly enough, we never saw them bicker. Let's go back and just listen to what she just said. We rarely heard them bicker.
And I told them, you can take me out, but the spark's not there for me anymore. I was just feeling so exhausted from the constant bickering and arguing.
So we didn't see them often argue and bicker. What we did see was flashpoints. We saw certain moments, but we didn't see them bicker as such. So the fact that the cameras went and bickering started means there was a fight that was going on, like an emotional fight that was happening behind the scenes. Someone struggling to keep their independence, other person trying to make them dependent. There was a jostling of power behind the scenes that we never saw on the screen much. We saw them have flash moments, like I said, but never really bickering, right? Every time Rachel would cave in or give in to his demands, and that's what I'm talking about, Rachel not being true. Maybe it's the editing, but we rarely saw them bicker. So, and the reason, and when Jose was doing those things, she would push back. Don't get twisted. That the brushing her teeth thing, she did eventually push back. But it does show that I don't know if she's been all the way honest on the show, and I don't mean that in a bad way, in the sense of holding your tongue, and that's what that little that phone, your phone and your notes is that you need to learn how to not be piling on. When you pile on, you're gonna kill your partner, right? I'm not cussing Rachel per se. I'm just saying pile on means adding one thing, nothing, and so it gets to the top, and you're like, okay, boom. And that doesn't have to be an aggressive thing. It just means you just on one day have an argument and it blows up more than it should do because you've got 100 things you never mentioned before. Right? So pylons.
But now we talk on the phone every night for hours, spending time together, getting to know each other.
So another good point here I've mentioned is about how to spend time together on the phone, talking, dialoguing, conversating. And I'll be honest with you, when you live together, and I've never really lived with a girl, but I've had someone stay with me for a few days at a time and done it for a period of time, you do realize, it gets annoying, blood. Especially if you love your space, it gets annoying, blood. And you have to learn how to be in that space where you can conversate. And this is why when I'm choosing a partner next, I need to know that I can conversate. I need to know that I can talk. I need to know that we can speak. I need to know that we can have conversation. I need to know that we can, and me personally, I'm not a huge conversationalist unless it's about deep philosophical philosophical situations or stuff like that. Then I don't speak often that much, right? Unless it's about sports, Jesus, psychology, relationships. Those are my main kind of things. And so when it's not a deep convo, I struggle to kind of be involved per se. You know what I mean? I like a good debate. So, conversating with your partner is important. Having that person you can dialogue with, talk with, release things to, important, right? So important. And so that's what they're now developing with the conversation and calls, which they probably never did because they were moving at such a speed in their relationship with all the lovey-dovey and PDAs and all that stuff. The way my voice is going, yeah, it's mad. All right, cool.
even more, and that's what we needed. I do see something long term, but I feel like I need to be really, really sure.
The old girl just said, listen, she needs to be really, really, really sure. She does see something long term, but she needs to be really, really sure. Baby, we're gonna need you to run. Okay? You don't need to be sure than you are now. Go. Because you don't need to be there. 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 It's honestly that true. You don't need to be there. So yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna leave it at that, and just say, Rachel. Oh, last thing. Sorry, I didn't show you guys this thing here. Bear in mind, they have not touched each other all episode.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love you.
So you're headed down the right.
It's definitely forward. We're definitely moving.
They finally touched hands. For what? You didn't do the whole episode. Why now? Now it could be that they forced this production to do this to create a whole massive scene. Or it could be the fact that, listen, they are trying to lie to themselves. They are trying to lie to themselves. But it is what it is. Like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification of uploads. We appreciate you guys. All right.
Little black boy, you know what time it is.